welcome back to Actor for Real. My name is Anastasia Chernaya. I am your host, and this is the channel for actors of all walks of life. Basically, anybody who has an inspiration to become an actor. Welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about self-tapes. Let's start with explanation. What are self-tapes? What is it? And, well, taking you back to pre-pandemic times when auditioning was 99% of the time in person, which meant that whenever you received an audition, whether it is from your agent or if you submitted yourself, you did need to drive across town, especially if you're in LA, and make it to your appointment and then wait out there with people who were pretty much your same category, your same type, who were after the same role in that project, and you would spend time out there waiting to be seen. Then you go in for 2 minutes and you're done, and then you drive across town back home, or maybe to hit another audition on the other side of town. Well, with the pandemic and the technology evolving as it is, the ratio has flipped. Pretty much 99% of the times that you will receive an audition, it will be a self-taped audition, which means that you will not have to drive anywhere. It means that you will record it from the convenience and comfort of your own home. You're going to be responsible for submitting it in time, and you're also going to be responsible for the technical side of the audition process. And that started during the pandemic when we were not allowed to go out anywhere, and it kind of stuck. It stuck with us. And you know what? There's a lot of different feelings that people have about self-tape auditions, but let me tell you, I booked off of self-tapes multiple times pre-pandemic, and needless to say, I am booking my roles through self-tape auditions post-pandemic. It doesn't change a thing, and yes, you can book stuff off of self-tapes. If you're coming back into the industry after a break and now you're worried about whether or not you're going to be able to book, fear not, you will be able to book off of the self-tape submission that you will do. And today we're going to talk about the best practices and how to prepare for self-tape auditions, what is important and what is not, and what it's supposed to look like, and everything you need to know about self-tape auditions. Let's get into it. Self-tapes are extremely important in the current industry's landscape because they allow for a faster turnaround for the casting directors, producers, and also actors at the same time. Because like I said, you're not spending hours in traffic driving across town trying to make your way to the studio where the audition is being held. You're also not looking for parking. You're avoiding a lot of wasted time for yourself, and also for you as an actor, it allows you to audition for projects that are not necessarily working in your area, but they might be filming in a different city, state, even a country. And it also allows you to sit into your own environment, enjoy the process, relax into it, not worry about the other actors in the waiting room who look like you, who speak like you, who go in and they do something grand, and now you feel like, oh my God, I have to do something big like this. And it puts all of that pressure on you when you're going in person. So I definitely believe that self-taping releases a lot of pressure and makes the whole audition processing for everybody so much easier. I've cast my own projects through self-taping, and that was even pre-pandemic. It's definitely very convenient for everybody. Let's talk about the technical part of self-audition process. There's only a couple of things that you absolutely definitely need, but if you don't, you can kind of improvise and see what you can use at home. But you definitely need a tripod. You need to set your phone somewhere so that you can record without holding it, because holding your phone and recording an audition is not an option. This is not how it works. You want to be able to move through your audition and feel free to use the space however you need. And also, you cannot be distracted by holding your phone or anything else. The only thing that you can be holding in your hands is probably sides, but we'll get to that later. You might want to consider getting a second tripod for the times when you need to have a reader for your auditions. That is the times when you have dialogue in the audition sides that were provided to you. If it's a dramatic dialogue, which means that you are going to be reading with somebody else, there's another character in the scene that you are going to need to have somebody read for you. And while there are some software, that some apps that you can install on your phone or your computer that will allow you to sort of not have the reader and they will feed the lines back to you. I haven't really looked into that. I find it much easier to actually call up a friend and be like, hey, can you just like spend 15 minutes with me and read those lines with me? You don't have to act, because the reader does not need to know how to act. It is all about you. And in that case, I have this second phone, which was, it was like one of the cheapest phones that I could find, and I have a SIM card in there as well, or you don't even need to have that. So if you have an old phone, you can just use it off of Wi-Fi, and then you can set it up on the second tripod right next to your phone, right next to your own tripod, the main one, so that you can video chat with that person who is going to be reading those lines with you. Also, you are going to need some light in case you don't have natural good lighting in your own space, or if you need to record during the evening and that's like the only time that you have to actually record it, lighting really works, because there's two main things that you need to have in your self-tapes. It is the lighting, it's supposed to be good lighting, and you're supposed to have good sound. Generally, it seems like the phone records just fine, because I have been recording my YouTube videos with my phone and it seems to be doing just great with the sound and the picture quality, because, well, the technology has advanced so much to where it just allows you to do that without any extra investment. And the third thing that you need to be paying attention to, and that is extremely important, and it's sort of one of the basic things that you're supposed to have when it comes to self-taping, is your backdrop, which is what is going to be in the background of you. It's basically what you are going to be standing in front of. And you don't want to have anything which is busy, kind of like what I have over here. That's not appropriate. It's too distracting. All you need is a plain wall. That's it. It cannot have any pictures, it cannot have any paintings, no plants, nothing of the kind on that wall. If you have like a light switch, then it's fine. Like, that's a natural thing. If this is all the space that you have with the light switch, that's fine. You can still use it. But try to find something that's not distracting. It doesn't matter what color it's going to be. Anything will suffice. So if you have white walls or beige walls or blue or green walls, it doesn't matter. As long as it's solid, it is good. You don't have to invest money into it. I mean, I colored my wall blue in my studio, which is an extra bedroom in this apartment, but I did it because I'm auditioning a lot, and because back then it felt like everybody was doing blue, so I kind of fell for it and also did blue. But it's fine, it doesn't matter. If you only have white walls and you don't want to invest money into coloring any other color, it will work. It literally does not matter which color your backdrop is. If you don't have a single piece of a wall where you can stand in front of and record your audition, and it has a bunch of stuff in there, then you will probably want to get some kind of a drape or a big piece of fabric which you can hang behind you, and that will serve as a backdrop as well. That's another option that you can have, but technically you don't really need to invest much into it. So just to sum it up, there are three main things that you need to have for your self-tapes to prepare for the self-tapes on the technical aspect of things. You will need one or two good tripods where you can set your phone, your camera, your recording device, and the second one might be useful if you are doing a video chat with your reader. The second thing that is important is the lighting. You want to make sure that the lighting is good and that they can see you, which means that if you don't have natural light, which a lot of us really don't, but if you don't have natural light, you might want to invest in some kind of a light which you can set behind your phone or recording device and then shine on you so that you can be seen. Actually, the second one that goes together with lighting is sound. You want to make sure that you are heard, so close the windows, close the doors, and make sure nothing loud is going on outside or within your space so that you can be heard very well. And the third thing is your backdrop. Make sure that you have a plain wall behind you, or a piece of fabric or a drape in case you don't have a plain wall in your house where you're recording. And then that's it. You're set. You're ready to start recording your audition. Here's a little bit of a technical tip There are three main frames that you want to be using in your self-tapes, and it will all depend on whether the production is asking you to record in a certain frame or not. Technically, if they're not asking you to record your self-tape in a specific frame, it means that you just need to use this medium frame, which is sort of, it can be anywhere from your waist to the top of your head without anything really extra at the top or at the bottom. You can be a little bit of a closer. This is more of a close-up, and you can definitely use that in your self-tapes, whatever makes you more comfortable. And it will also depend on the space that you have. So if you have extra space and you're moving a little bit more, then you might want to step back and just have it kind of medium to close-up somewhere over here. So if you have extra space, you can record anywhere from medium to a close-up. It's really up to you depending on how you're moving and how comfortable you feel in this scene. And also depending on what kind of a scene it is, it might just be like answer a few questions for us, like where are you from and what do you like to have for breakfast. There, you really don't need to be moving, you don't need to be showing anything, so you can just enjoy your medium to close-up. This would be an extreme close-up, and I don't think I've ever been asked to record a self-tape in an extreme close-up. This is usually something that is recorded on set when you're filming for a dramatic effect, so that as a viewer you can pay attention to the eyes and what's happening with the actor and the character. And there's also a full body one. That one is pretty tricky, and it's harder to record anything with a little space. Where we live, usually the rooms are not as big where you can zoom out so far and you can like step as far as possible from your phone and record a full body. But sometimes they do ask for a full body, and it's usually either a slate or a little insert so that they can see your body composition. And yes, it is a regular practice. Yes, you do need to do it as long as they're asking for it. But if they're not asking for anything, just stick to medium close-up. That's all you need, and that's a little technical tip. Now let's talk about some performance tips. If you're given sides for your audition, which can be anywhere from 1 line to 9 pages of dialogue, which I actually have received in the past, that was this year, and I did submit that audition, and I tell all about that story in my video about memorization. I'm going to link that video in the description below so that you can check out that story about 9-page audition that I received, and you can also learn about my memorization tips and tricks. So the most important thing that is expected from you as an actor is to have your sides down. Have your sides memorized so that you are as much off book as possible. While there's a lot of coaches that would be telling you that it is okay to look into your sides here and there a little bit, it is true, it is okay if you forgot the line and you just look down to get it. There's certain rules when it comes to that as well, and you will even find some coaches that will tell you that you do need to look down into your sides so that you are not as intimidating to the casting director, and that makes everybody more comfortable, which I call on. You really don't need to be putting more pressure on yourself to be something that you are not. So to be a professional actor and professionally submit your self-tape, you do need to be off book. I don't care how long it takes, I don't care how much off book you are, try your best to be off book. It is okay if you're forgetting a line here and there, but with the amount of competition out there, with the amount of submissions that casting directors receive, you want to make sure that you are standing out as much as possible. And let me tell you, in the amount of actors that are submitted to that same role as you're submitted for, professionalism is what's going to make you stand out, because the flood of actors who are coming to Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, who are submitted from all around the country is so high, and anybody can do it, whether they have experience or not. You do want to stand out as a professional actor, and being a professional actor in this instance means being completely off book. So as soon as you receive your audition request, make sure that you get onto memorizing those lines as fast as possible so that when the time comes for you to actually record it, you know it by heart completely, and you don't have to be constantly stopping and going and then recording thousands of takes, because nobody has time for that. You don't have time for that. Your reader does not have time for that. And the casting director sure does not have time to be looking through a self-tape where an actor just cannot get their lines straight. So make sure you're working on your memorization skills. That is the most important skill that you need as an actor. And get your lines down. Which means that you don't have to be absolutely word perfect, but you need to know the idea of the lines that you are talking. It is okay to paraphrase certain things, but you need to know what it is that you are talking about and what's happening in this or that line, which is being presented and recorded in the self-tape. And we will talk more about the best practices for memorizing and self-tape recording submissions and performance submissions as well. We'll talk more about that in a separate video. Today we're talking more about how to submit a self-tape and what it is that you need to know to have a successful self-tape submitted. So let's continue. Another very technical tip that you need to know is that when you receive a self-tape audition request, make sure that you read the instructions that the casting director is sending you very thoroughly, because you might miss something important. Not everybody is going to have certain instructions, but you need to make sure that if they do, you know exactly what to provide. Specific instructions can include things like a full body shot or a certain answered question that they have, which might include anything from your actual age or your height, where you're located, or what is the best practice for making the most perfect omelet. Literally, that can happen. Also, there might be instructions that will tell you where to put the slate, which is your introduction. It can go into the beginning of the self-tape video that you are submitting, or it can go at the end. Sometimes casting director would specify what kind of a placement that they would prefer. Also, sometimes they can be like, okay, we just need one take, do not submit multiple takes. Or they can tell you something completely opposite, saying, have fun, send us 10 takes. Or an important one, sometimes they can request for you to send separate videos for each take. So in any case, it can be really anything. You cannot predict that. So make sure that you are reading the instructions that the casting director is providing. Generally, this is something that I am going to talk more about in a separate video when we are going to be talking about performance in the self-tapes. But what I want to generally tell you, if they're not requesting you to send a certain amount of takes, what I like to do is to send them 2 separate takes. If it's an audition which ends up being under a minute, sometimes I might send 3 takes, but I normally do not record more than 2 takes at a time anyways. So if you have recorded a couple, which is pretty much all you need, and they're not requesting just 1 take of the scenes that they're sending you, you can generally include a couple of takes. Because if you did not come into the industry pre-pandemic, I'll tell you that it used to be where you go into the room for that actual in-person audition, and you will have anywhere from 1 to 3 takes. Sometimes after 1 take, they can be like, thank you, we've seen it all, you can just go. Or they can be like, oh great, wonderful, let's try this. And then the director is usually present and they're like, okay, can you use this circumstance and then give us another take of this? And they're recording everyone, and that's when they're putting together. So when you're submitting your self-tape audition, you generally can submit a couple of takes. And then a big question that everybody's asking, well, how do I know if takes are different? Well, guess what? Every single take is going to be different no matter what, because you're going to look somewhere, you're going to blink differently, you might look down, you might look up, you might move a little bit different, and it's already a different take. So don't overthink whether the takes are too different or not, and also don't record 15,000 takes. You do not need that many, because what that does, it sends you on a downward spiral of your ego telling you that you're not good enough, that it has to be perfect. And that is more of the stuff that we're going to talk about in the self-tape performance video. So make sure that you are subscribed to my channel so you do not miss the next video coming out. And make sure that you are not recording a million takes. You do not need them. As long as you are memorized completely and you go into that audition with good intention, you do not need to record millions of takes. Because listen guys, Get yourself into the habit of recording maybe 3 takes, no more than that, so that if something happens in the industry and they start requesting in-person auditions, you don't go in to the in-person audition thinking that you are going to be able to make 15 takes of that same audition, because you won't. You need to be, again, this is professionalism, being so prepared to where you go in, you do 1 or 2 takes and you are done and you present your work. Because this is not about making it perfect. This is about presenting what you can bring to the table as an actor to this project. That's all it is. And also, you will never guess. You will never in a million years guess what it is that they're looking for. Because a lot of times casting directors don't know what they're looking for. So, why? Why create more work for yourself? More pressure, more stress. Do 2 takes and then enjoy the rest of your day. Do more submissions so that you can receive another self-tape request. Don't overthink it. Now, you have recorded your takes and now you need to edit them and put them together. You need to make sure that you cut out the beginning and end when you're clicking on your phone, starting the record, and then you turning it off. The casting directors don't need to see that. They don't have time to be watching every single actor out of the 60 actors that they have requested self-tapes from doing this back and forth. They don't need to see that. So you need to make sure that you know how to edit your video. There's plenty of software and apps out there that you can use to edit your video. I use CapCut. I guess I can put the name of the app in the description under this video so that you know what to look for. I find it the easiest to edit with CapCut. I feel like it's the most straightforward one and the least complicated one, and it's fast, it works great, never failed me in a couple of years that I've been using it, and it makes it so easy to just put things together, to put different takes together and make them in the same video. So I highly recommend CapCut. Obviously not sponsored. I have 17 subscribers at this point. I don't have sponsors just yet. This is me sharing what I'm using with you guys. CapCut is what I'm using. So if they didn't give you a specific instruction on how to submit your tape, then generally what I do, I put my slate in the front, then I attach the first take, which is usually my most favorite take, and then also don't overthink that. If you feel like this is the good take, put it in first, and then the second take. That's it. Do not use any transitions. Do not use any filters. Please, please, please do not use any transitions, any filters, nothing like that. Just use the files that you have recorded, that you put together, and then crop, right? And crop stuff out that's not supposed to be there. And then usually it's just like at the beginning of each clip and the end of each clip. Just cut it out, export that, send it out. Now, sending the audition will also look different. Recently, I have been seeing a lot of casting directors talking about making sure that the file format is, well, one, it's supposed to be MP4 so that it can be watched across any platform that the casting director might be using. And also you want to make sure it's not a file that's going to weigh 1,000 gigabytes. You need something that's very easy to download. You don't need it to be the most perfect quality. Usually anywhere from 420 to 720. Within those ranges of the video quality is what you need to export it in, because normally when you are exporting a video file from, let's say, CapCut, it's preset to 1080p. But you want it to be anywhere from 420 to, I believe it's 740 actually. So something that's not going to weigh too much so that they have an easy access to the video themselves. Now, once you have exported it, I generally like to name my files with the character's name underscore my full name, so that, again, it's easier for casting directors to find the file among millions of files that they're receiving. You don't necessarily have to do this. I've never received any kind of feedback on that, but I generally find that to be helpful whenever people send me files. And also, I think it just generally is a good practice to be a little bit more straightforward about what this is that you are sending them. Now, there's multiple ways to actually send the file, and if you have received the audition request from any of the casting websites which we talk about, which is Actors Access, Casting Frontier, Backstage, casting networks or any other platform. Also, if you want to learn more about the platforms, I do have a video which I will be including also in the description below this video, which talks about how to find those auditions and which platforms I use. So if you have received your self-tape request from one of these websites, then you just go into that request and you upload it right there in the request. Every single one of those websites will have a specific button for that, basically in that self-tape request. But if a self-tape instruction came from the casting director that wants you to submit it directly to their email, well, you won't be able to attach that video because it weighs too much directly to that email. So you need to send it with a link, which you can do either with your phone. Your phone can create a link to that specific file, or you can upload it to Dropbox or Google Drive, online storage places like that basically, or you can just send it with WeTransfer, which is a platform that allows you to send the files for free with a link. It gives 7 days for people to download that file, and it does not require you to store anything anywhere. Make sure that you delete it so that it's not occupying your space. It's just generally like a very common and easy service to use, and it's free. So you might want to just upload that and then send the link to the casting director with a note saying that this is who it's from and this is the requested self-tape. You don't need to overthink that or do something grand with that. All right, and in a separate video, we will review some good self-tapes and some bad self-tapes that I have done in the past, including the national commercial, which I landed a year ago. And this is all that I have for you guys today. I hope this has been helpful. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed the information that I gave you and you found it helpful, make sure to like this video. It really helps me out. And make sure to share it with the friends who you think might benefit from this video. Leave me a comment. Let me know what are your favorite practices when it comes to self-tape auditioning. Also, let me know if you have been to any live auditions, any in-person auditions in your lifetime, and tell me, do you prefer in-person auditions or self-tapes? I would like to know because everybody has a completely different opinion on that. So make sure that you are subscribed to my channel because there's so much more information coming, and you can also click the notification button to stay updated on every single post that I make, and so that you don't miss anything out. And that is it on the self-tape technical practices, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.